If you're here, you're curious about the 6 thinking hats I want to teach and share because they will dramatically improve your conversations, avoid a lot of arguments, and not have to worry about personality problems and just worry about behavior problems when we're using these 6 thinking hats. Just a quick splash about me is I am a future best-selling author and I'm a confidence coach. And I coach people how to live like a fun kid and not worry so much. And I practice that every day because I need it the most. But here we go. Hat number 1. Okay, this is the blue hat. Okay, now of course I'm using red, but it's the most visible on screen. So the blue hat thinking is all about organization. And imagine the sky, right? It kind of encompasses it all. So whenever you're in a conversation or you're leading a meeting, this is the first hat you want to bring out. And you could be thinking about it or wearing it and thinking about it before you go in the group, but definitely when you go in the group or you're in that conversation and you've shared this thinking method with people, start with the blue hat. Organization. Now what's cool about this, it's kind of like the bird's eye view. So let's say you want to figure out how to make more sales in a meeting or something like that. You start listing your objective and what do you want to bring about? How do you want this to end? What is a quality result for the meeting? And you would jot those things down. Now, if you're talking to everyone, you just use phrases like this. All right, guys, we're going to start, put the blue hat on. Let's just kind of get an overview. Let's get organized and let's make an objective. And this type of thinking can be used for a personal conversation too. If you have a difficult conversation you have to have with someone, you might want to put on the blue hat and think, how do I want them to feel in the beginning, in the middle, at the end? How do I want to feel? You got to ask yourself these things because I dropped a marker. Because if you don't, then you're just stumbling into a situation. And what happens when we don't have a plan? We kind of get a little irritated when things aren't going right. And it's important to be intentional. So this is a great way to be intentional in a macro thinking style. All right, hat number 2. So this is number 1. We're gonna just go in somewhat of an order. Hat number 2 is the white hat. White hat. And this is gonna be facts, information, and neutral. Okay, facts, neutral, info. So what does that mean? When everyone wears this, they're not going to be feeling anything like, I'm a little nervous about this sale we need to make. No, that's later hat thinking. We'll get there, but this is the fact hat thinking. So lay it all on the table. Dump it out of your bag. What are we trying to do here? We talked about in the blue hat. Now what do we have? What's happening? What are the other people doing? Facts. Lay them out on the table. And what's really cool about this 6 hat thinking method is once you teach people about it, once you start doing it yourself, you have to get the most out of it, you have to propose it kind of like a game. And if everyone agrees to play the game, most people don't want to be non-cooperative, incooperative, whatever it may be, they want to cooperate. So if they say, sure, I'll play the game, then it's very easy for you to, if you're the leader, to say, hey, let's stay on the white hat thinking a little longer because I don't know if we have all the hats, all the information. Sorry, I'm in hat mode, so I'm going to be saying hats a lot. Hat number 3. All right, 3. This is the red hat. And a lot of people live in the red hat. It's the emotional hat. And what I like to think is I paint stories when I'm learning things and remembering things. So one of my stories from the blue hat is that blue hat sky. Imagine a huge blue hat, okay, covering you. But then around you, let's imagine everything's white. White hat, and it's neutral, you're looking around, and then all these facts start falling around from the sky. Oh, facts. But onto the red hat, I imagine my heart is a hat, and it pops out, and I'm looking at it float there, a little hat shape, dripping blood. The weirder the better, the memory will pick it up if it's kind of strange and interesting. So on the red hat, emotional, feelings. Now, you have to remember this. you don't need to explain why you feel things. That's the great part of this. So when everyone wears the hat, they can just say, I feel like the other team is being judgmental. They don't have to even give the reasons. That's just the feeling. So we can all get past that. We know that each of us feel this way, and it also is better because we just get it out and we can move on to the other thinking that gets us to the next stage. Now, it's important to get this out not too late in your conversation. I think someone's cutting wood, so apologize for that. So let's say you start with the blue, you go in the white, definitely go in the red next because people are starting to think about this whole thing and maybe it's on their mind. A lot of the times when people are trying to stay on the white hat or the blue hat or any hat, they'll tend to go to another hat thinking. And it's your job, if you're leading, to keep them on track. So can we use a little more red hat thinking just to make sure everyone got their feelings out and we just know where everyone stands? So you could say phrases like that. I think you get the red hat. Next, hat. 4. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let's go to the yellow hat. The YOLO. Yellow hat. So that is like the sun. Imagine the sun coming down in the white room and it's in the shape of a hat. That's weird. You'll remember this. The sun is what? It's positive. It's giving us energy. It's optimistic. So optimistic. Now, I may not be spelling any of these words correctly, but that's okay. This is just to keep me on track and maybe a reference for you. So, optimism, the bright side, but it's not just be positive, be positive, be positive. There needs to be something that backs it up. But when you wear the yellow hat, you can just, whatever comes to mind that could be good in the situation, could be interesting, could be worthwhile. It's good to lay that out, and then as we go through the hat system, you start to discover, you know, that was optimistic, but that's not working now that we've done XYZ or we've considered XYZ. So optimistic hat, we're not trained as humans to be in this hat method, this thinking. Most of the time we're in the black hat, which I might propose next. But once you play this game and you start thinking about thinking, it's very easy to remember. You got to go to the optimist. You got to train your brain to see what's better, what could be better, the reasoning for what's happening, and it helps you stay away from the negative. The next hat is not necessarily the negative, but it's the black hat, which is caution, which is make sure we don't forget about this because that could cause a problem later. So black hat, caution. Black hat. So black hat, caution is the hat that most people wear. Have you ever met those people that you tell them something fun? Oh, I'm doing this. I'm going to travel to India. And then the first thing they think of is, oh, I heard on the news that if you travel, you don't want to do this because of that and this. And they start yapping all this negative things they hear, all these cautious aspects of whatever you're excited about. It's not that it's horrible, but if you get stuck in the black hat, like many do, it's not that productive. So that's why we don't want to start with the black hat. We want to go in this order, something like this. Definitely you start with the blue hat. You could go right to the red, but white's nice because you're dumping everything out. And then back to feelings. Then yellow hat, you know, let's look at the bright side. Okay, what's going on? Black hat thinking. And what's fun, again, using the phrase, hey, Bill, throw on your black hat. You're good at this. You know, there's some people that just, they see the things that could go wrong when maybe someone's using the yellow hat too much. They don't see it. So let's hang in the black hat a little longer just in case, because this is a big project and I don't want to miss a problem we could resolve now before it becomes a big monster. Make sense? I hope it does. So black hat. Now the sixth hat is one of my favorite hats. It's the green hat, the creative hat. Green, creative. Now, to continue the story so you remember this, the sun comes out, that yellow hat sun, okay? The black hat, imagine it coming down in the white room from that blue sky. Just black hat pops on your head. That's pretty simple. The green hat, if you look around, look down, what comes out of the ground? Grass, greenery, growth. So imagine little hat mushrooms popping up, and you're seeing it, and it's creativity because everyone's different, and it's just popping up everywhere. So growth, creativity, green hat. Growth. I forgot to mention, let's start with the blue hat and end with the blue hat, because then you start a meeting or a conversation kind of with the overview, the objective, organized and all that, and then you go through all the thinking hats, and then you end with the blue hat to kind of recap what happened. How far did you come? Do you need to carry something over into another conversation or another meeting? Lay everything out what happened so that everyone's on the same page. Now what's fun about this whole hat system, and this is very imperative, so if you're not taking notes, take notes now. The best part of this game, this thinking system, is that it doesn't matter about your personality, it just matters about your behavior. And when you're wearing specific hats, you are required to behave certain ways or think certain ways. So someone that, let's say their emotional home is kind of frustration. That was my emotional home for a lot of years. I'm working on it. I want my emotional home to be patience. That's what I'm working on now. But my emotional home is frustration. So maybe I wear the black hat and I'm just like, it could go wrong because of this. And then it's like, that's a block and that's a block. But then we go to the green hat. Be like, hey, let's put on your green hat and let's just be creative. Let's imagine things growing. How could things grow? And how many different ways we could add to the pot so it grows tremendously. Now this lovingly forces someone that maybe isn't as creative. They think they're not creative. I gotta stop doing this. But imagine people that say, I'm not that creative. But you give them a green hat, you say, hey, just wear the green hat. Let's just see what happens. Just wear the thinking creative hat. Let's see what happens. And you'll be surprised because you're kind of provoking someone to think a certain way that they maybe haven't, and things come out. Now that brings me to my next and final thing about this video. This is called provocation operation. And I learned this in the book. This is from the 6 Thinking Hats book by Edward De Bono. And what that is, it's PO, provocation operation. What does that mean? Operation. Provocation operation, for the 3rd time, means do something that provokes you to think better. That's what this is. The thinking hat game is exactly that. But let's say you have the green hat on and one of you, or you, I'm just not getting the creativity I want. I have the hat on, we're playing the game. You can do something that maybe isn't necessarily creative, but it gets you more creative by provocation. Let's say you open the dictionary to page 197, just random. Hey, pick a number, 197. Pick 1 through 10, and 8. So go to 197, go to line 8, and you'll see a word. And then you'll look at the definition. Now that definition of the word, let's say it's flask. You look at the definition, and maybe something comes to mind. Or maybe there's a way you can use a flask in your marketing ad. I don't recommend that because it doesn't make sense unless you're an alcohol brand, but I don't know if they can do ads like that. I digress. You can see what I'm saying. Now you can even call a friend. Hey, I'm trying to come up with this idea. All I have is this. Anything come to mind? They might say something that's not even that relevant, but if you're open-minded and you have that green hat on, you have the provocation operation in mind, then they might trigger you to think of something creative that works. And then you bring that to the meeting, or in the meeting it happens and people, they clap, things move on, you get the momentum you need. What's great about that is just it's an extra tool when you feel a little stuck. So people say, oh, there's writer's block. If you're an author, you're a writer. There really isn't a writer's block if you use the operation. If you put on some more thinking hats and you just kind of push yourself, if you know what I mean. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a quick pop-up video. I was compelled to share it. I just finished this book, The 6 Thinking Hats, again by Edward De Bono. That's it. If you like videos like this, please subscribe, like, support the channel. Let me see it so I'm inspired to do some more. I would like to create more videos like this, more content like this, and share to the world. Thank you.